What do you perceive as some of the long-term issues affecting Princeton, New Jersey?
Well, a long-term issue, looking backwards it has been, but the consolidation of two governments has got to be at the top of the list of a major issue that people have been talking about for 30 years. And I've spoken with a lot of the past committee people, at least in my party, that have been around, and this issue has been going back and forth for years. We need to get it done. We are in too much fiscal chaos and regret right now to not be approaching this. And yes, I know there's differences in the township and the borough. And
taxes for that group, taxes for that group. But in the short run, would it save money, you think, or the long run? I mean, from your
well, I think probably both. But it also allows the opportunity, if we go in that direction, we draw political lines, we look at the way we're spending this money and stewarding our assets of the taxpayers, our hard-earned taxpayer assets, and then also at the same time go to the university and say, Princeton, it's time. Princeton University, it's time for you to kick in too, because you've been laying back for quite a few years and you need to help out and get this all done at once.
How would you we're discussing maybe, but how would you change the dynamic, the leverage you might have on Princeton University? You mentioned what? You had background connections?
Well, I think it's more about addressing the Board of Trustees in a very open, world citizen-like, responsible manner. They are a leader among world universities. They are a leader among U.S. They need to be seen as doing the right things for the town and the area that supports them. And at the top of the list of those right things certainly is to bear their fair share of infrastructure and operating costs. And I think everyone, including the university themselves, would agree that that's not happening today.
But do you have the cachet, the connections to get an audience and start?
Well, I think Stuart Duncan and I are as in good a position as anyone.
Stuart Duncan, explain.
Is our my running mate for Township Committee. So we are in as good a position as anyone to approach trustees, as well as Dr. Tillman, and bring this issue to a serious point of discussion. And we can't do this without the cooperation of all the elected officials, Democrat or Republican. But if we can work together, forget our party differences, our distinctions or labels, and figure out what's best for our taxpayers, our voters, and our public purse, this is the way to go.
Money to be saved.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Of course, I don't understand reevaluation. I can't even pronounce it. But what's your view on that?
What can you pronounce?
What's your view on that? What's going wrong? Is this a scam, or what's happening?
I've attended probably 10 hours of meetings and public discussions of this, and my view of it is that we just have a very poorly administered system for doing this. It's a combination of an outside contractor under supervision of the county assessment professionals or appointed elected officials, and of course our own borough and council representatives who must sign off on the process. But when you haven't done a tax assessment for, in this case, 13 years, and you're coming into a new approach to reevaluate everyone's property taxes, I think you've got to go sit down and say, what are we doing here in terms of the process? Where is this going to end up? And it appears to me that that was not done in a serious, sober enough manner by our elected officials. Ask the tough questions.
Let's do a little background here. Yeah. Tax reevaluation, what happened with that? I mean,
well, they came to, in the case I'm more familiar with the township, they came to do an extraction method revaluation of all our properties.
A company was hired to do this.
A company, yes.
Didn't Scott Sepriel, was he involved in the search process for that company? That's what I hear on the street.
I wouldn't know, and I don't think he has involvement in that, but I can't comment on that.
Let's do the background.
Yeah. So in bringing then the county's offices to bear with the private contractor, an extraction method of revaluing our properties in Princeton was applied. what has been showing up now since April is a large number of inappropriately or unequally valued properties based on proximities and comparables to nearby homes.
Essentially, the company came in, didn't know the area, and screwed up.
That's probably one part of it. But look, you know, if you're going to redistribute taxes, a fixed amount of money across a contiguous group of taxpayers, and you make the assessment or judgment that, oh, maybe the taxpayers in homes over X amount have been paying too much, and maybe taxpayers in homes under a different amount have been paying too little, and you try to set up a formula that drives the funding and the assessments that way, you are maybe not going to come up with a perfectly equal, transparent system. And that is what they've ended up with, is not a very transparent methodology that in case after case that is being brought up for appeals, we are finding very disequal, very unlevel comparisons.
What needs to happen
Could
with
they
this reevaluation? Should
they,
the whole
like,
thing be
scrap
junked
it?
and
I mean,
start
yeah.
all over again?
Well,
or-
the law says that 15% of the properties are considered misvalued. They have to do it over again. And my understanding is the initial expense of the last revaluation was $300,000. So this is yet another big bite of public money to spend to redo taxes, reevaluate taxes one more time. But look, if that's where it goes, they have to do it. Now, even if it doesn't get to 15%, the approach, whether it's the extraction method, how they're applying it, how the county assessors are handling this, needs to be seriously revisited and opened up. And I know the Princeton Fair Tax Alliance, a citizen action group, is doing a tremendous job under Tom Pyle and Jim Firestone's leadership to get at the core of this. And if they can't work through the data they're collecting, present it, and get a decent hearing from the county assessors, then they'll pursue due process in a court of law if it requires that.
Do you see the Princeton Township Municipal Board or the county assessors, do you think, where are they at right now? Do you think they're scared, blocking, they think they're right politically? Or?
I think they're probably feeling very overwhelmed with all of these events right now. And certainly, again, this is where party alliances get difficult. You've got a strongly Democratic-led, influenced assessment body in Trenton. Okay, you have a 100% Democratic borough council and township committee. So if there are any loyalties or allegiances there that people are trying to respect, this is not a time when allegiances and loyalties need to be played out. We need independent, cold, hard thinking, because when I see widows showing up at town meetings who have taxes moved from $6,000 a year to $11,000 a year on fixed incomes, I'm very worried that we're treating seniors this way, and that the methodology is so imprecise and so non-transparent.